Hi guys, it's Matt here from the Forex Coach. We're just going to do some market analysis. I've now got a demo account that I've just been trialing out with Admiral Markets here, and I'm using it on MT4. I've got a couple of new sort of chart setups that I'm trialing, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to start doing a bit of market analysis off the cuff, looking at the markets as we go through. And potentially going forward, what we could do from this is utilize it to do a bit of live trading as well. So I've actually just applied for a live account. I've got accounts all over the place at the moment. As you know, I'm trialing lots of stuff on MT4, MT5. I'm doing manual trading. I've got expert advisors and trading bots and stuff. So I've got my account funds spread as we stand at the moment across. I'm now looking at them on screens here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7 accounts, a combination of both spread betting, CFD accounts. So I'm trialing different brokers. I've got a XM account. I've got a couple of FXCM accounts. I've got a couple of Admiral Market accounts. But I like the feedback. I've done a post on the Facebook page, so if you haven't seen it already, have a look. I've done a feedback as to one of the reasons why I chose Admiral Markets, and it looks like a fairly good broker. I like some of the stuff that I'm seeing so far. So yeah, gonna give it a go and see what happens. So just to go through, basically I've got 8 markets here for now. Now I won't do any more than 8 because it's just a bit time consuming, and the problem I've got is that 1, 2, 3, 4 of these are just pure dollar related currencies. So what you're going to find to a certain extent is what's happening on one is going to be happening on the others, and it's going to be, you know, a fact that you're repeating yourself, etc, etc. So I need to be careful. I don't want to, you know, bore people, but it's worth having a look through and maybe doing some analysis as we go. So let's have a look at the euro dollar. Now what I'm going to do with these is leave them on 5-minute charts most of the time, and then I'm going to do high time frame analysis and have a look out. So what we find is potentially we may get some trades as we go through. I'm going to record them and post them sort of after the event has happened, but as always, anyone who's a member of the Forex Coach will get all the trading alerts sent to them by push notifications to their mobile phone, and then you can watch the video at a later date to see, you know, what the reason behind that particular trade was, if it's a manual trade. So any trades that I do off this account will be labelled as manual, so you'll see that on the trade alert that comes out. So euro dollar, let's go out to the monthly chart. We can see here that we've had some great euro strength, which we was expecting. I think I started talking about this back in May. We've pushed up, we hit this moving average, which was the 50 period moving average. We actually broke through it, and now we're having a bit of a pullback. Now what we have got going across here is some kind of trend line, which I can draw on across these highs here, and we've also got some moving averages up here. So it's quite a difficult one because it's likely we're going to get up here. You know, we've got 1, 2 moving averages coming together there and this trend line, but are we going to get up there on this move? So if we look at the monthly chart, this is my own variation of a CMO indicator, so you won't be able to download this. This is something I've actually had developed, but it's kind of, we're in overbought territory. Now we can stay in overbought territory, but we can also start to pull back. But what you can see is we can pull back and market then kind of diverges and still pushes higher, etc. So as far as runs concerned, that run in comparison to some of these runs that we've seen isn't significant. So potentially, before we get a significant pullback, we could run up there. Now when we talk about day trades and stuff, we're doing this higher time frame analysis and really looking at justification is, can the market go up, can it go down? In this case scenario, we have got support with this price envelope coming up here. We haven't quite got down to it at this level here yet, So when we do get down there, it is likely that we may see a bounce up. So potentially we could see on the daily charts a bit more downside, then a bounce up, and then it's going to be a matter of, is it going to break up, take out these highs and push higher on this move, or are we going to see a deeper retracement before it then turns around and pushes up? And you know, it's just a matter of watching the price action. You can't decide what's going to go on. However, long term, potentially what we could see is the push up to here, then the pullback, and then the breakthrough of this trend line, and then, you know, potentially it pushing even higher. So we have to wait and see how it plays out. So if we look at the weekly charts, to say, we can see this rolling over now, but we've got all of this support, all of this momentum pushing up, all of these moving averages pushing up. So looking at this, we could definitely see it drop a bit lower before it turns back around and pushes up. So we need to be cautious of that. One of the things that we can see here is the CMO has had a fairly big move, but what I can see here is kind of the de-acceleration of the move by this curvature of the CMO here. So potentially that could be indicating that we may have some more downside, but it could then, as I say, roll back over and push back up. But it's very difficult to tell just from this. But there's definitely support coming up, but you know, that's still a fair old distance away there. You know, a good distance there between these moving averages that are sort of scooping up underneath. So on the daily charts, we can see obviously that move we've seen on the weekly charts has happened over time. We've had, you know, these lows here, which down here, which we've broken through. So we kind of hit the support zone, bounce back up, but then have come back down. So looking at the momentum here, we've been, this is just an awesome oscillator, and what I'm looking at here is the fact that it's been negative for quite some time now. Often what we might find here is that this wants to get back up to the positive, the overbought stage, before it then rolls back over. So we might see this come back around, push back up slightly, and then have further downside. But again, I've got reasons for both long and short positions at the moment, so it's very difficult from this at this stage to justify exactly what direction. However, if I go down to the 4 hours charts here, what we can see is that we've kind of got a bit of a downtrend formation. There was this trend line across here, which you can see in the blue. We've had a break of this trend line on this move down here. We've also broken these lows here, so it's made fresh lows. And now what we've had is this 21 period moving average in blue here coming down. It's come up, it's not quite touched it yet, so we may still see some consolidation, and it may still touch this 21 period moving average on the 4 hour chart, but we may see some further downside on this. And now if we go on to the hourly chart, we can see here that we've got the move back up, so kind of the retracement to this big move down here. Looking at it, it could still go higher. As I say, you've got that 21 period moving average on the 4 hour chart. You've also got this moving average on the 1 hour chart here, so we could still see it push back up here before it then continues this move. But going by the most recent trend, we're still seeing this downside correction in the euro dollar. So as far as trades are concerned on this, what I'm looking for on the 5 minute chart, I haven't seen it yet, but potentially we've got some movement happening on the 1 hour chart. We've got this trend down on the 4 hour chart, and we've got this big move here. So if we did push up and maybe hit this 21 period moving average, and what I'm looking for on this account and this analysis is just pure out and out day trading. So I want to be ideally in and out in a short amount of time. So I'm looking for fairly high risk to reward trades, or reward to risk trades, and looking to sort of take profits fairly quickly. So to enter a trade, what I would like to see is my CMO indicator. So if I was looking to enter a short, I'd want to see my CMO indicator up here, which you can see. You know, you can get potentially some good moves if you time this right, combine it with the awesome oscillator here, to try and get and time a move down. So what I'd want to see is a push back up higher at some point. It can go lower first, it doesn't matter. Push back up higher. If I can get my CMO over to plus 100 around that area, and I can look and see the potential of the price moving over, then you know there is potential then to make a to take a short trade on that. Okay, so as I say, short term there's potential for slightly more downside to get a trade off there on the euro dollar, so we'll have to wait and see what happens later on this afternoon with regards to that. With regards to news and stuff, it's fairly quiet today. On Wednesday we've got the Fed rate decision, so it kind of starts to pick up back end of the week. We've got on Thursday some fairly big news with regards to the Bank of England, so that's going to affect the pound. We've got the BOE rate decision, and on Friday we've got NFP, so it's going to definitely get a bit more volatile. Some more volume's going to come through as the week progresses. So that's just a bit of analysis with regards to euro dollar. We'll have a quick look at dollar yen as well. So let's go up to the monthly charts. Okay, so if we look at the monthly charts here, we have got this trend across here, this trend line, which hopefully you can now see in red there. Now, the way this has come up really does look like potential for a breakthrough of this trend line and a push higher. So the only thing that in my mind is contradicting this is that we're just so high on these stock markets, and we'll have a look at the Dow Jones soon, that makes you think that, you know, long term it's looking like we're going to see some dollar, you know, overall across other pairs it looks like potentially more dollar weakness to come, especially with, you know, when you look at like what we've just looked at with the euro dollar. However, with the dollar yen it looks like strength. However, when you think about risk off, and if we did have a pullback of these major indices, then you would expect to see that the yen strengthen with that, which this kind of contradicts. So it's quite difficult in a way to justify, or potentially it's telling us that we are going to see a breakthrough of this, and we're going to see continuation of the strength of these indices and new highs, which it could just keep going up, which it, you know, 100% could. So as it stands at the moment, we've got this trend line going across here. We didn't quite get up to it, but potentially we could see it push through there, and I will just check that out because we've just had an alert. I've just set up an indicator just to alert me when we've got some potential price action here. So it's actually on the Dow Jones, so I'm getting a little green arrow here which you can see, just to indicate that my CMO indicator has just come to around the -100 area. So what I can then do from that is look at the analysis and decide whether I'm looking, you know, to trade in that particular direction. So on the monthly chart, as I was just said, and we will go back to the dollar yen now, but we'll just quickly do some analysis on this off the cuff. So we are now in this overbought territory on the Dow Jones on the monthly chart, okay? So we are very high, we're on this overbought. So could it roll over from here? Yes, of course it could. Could it stay up here for a long time? Yes, of course it could. Could it still make new highs? Yes, all of these it could do. So it's very difficult to stay, but you've got to put all of these hundreds of different factors together to try and build up your own picture of what's going on. So if I go to the weekly, again, looking at the weekly, this is interesting. We've still got potential for a bit more upside till we get to this overbought territory up here, the +100 mark. So just bear that in mind. If we go to the daily, we kind of got up there, not quite, but we've started to see this turn back over. We can see here with the price envelope, we hit the bottom of the envelope here, and we have since started to push back up. So this could just be a bounce up. Yeah, no, I remember what I was going to look at on this today, and let's just zoom in slightly. So on the daily, if we get a push back up and we get one of my alerts like you've just seen there come, so if we get on the 5-minute chart back to the plus 100, and it kind of ties in with the top of this price envelope here, which you can see here, then I potentially would take a short there, but only if that ties in with around the US opening. So if that happened around 2:30, 3 o'clock, I would be interested in taking a short from up there. So I'll keep you posted on that. On the hourly chart, we have had this move down, we've had this sort of sideways action, bounces back up, etc. And we've now just pushed back up. Again, looking at the CMO indicator, that could just tie in with what I've just told you with regards to the daily chart. Because by the time we get up there in the next few hours, if it continues to push higher, if we do get back up there, then we could then be at the plus 100 here on my CMO indicator, on the plus 100 on the 1 hour charts here. So we could just see this move up there. We've got a trend line across here as well, potentially. A good tie in with that. A touch up here around 2, 3 o'clock, etc. Then we could be looking at shorting it from there. So something I'll keep my eye on. As far as the 5-minute chart, could it push higher? Yes, it could, and that's what we just looked at on the 1 hour chart. But on the 5-minute chart, I'm not happy with taking a long at this stage. As I say, I'll be looking for the short later on today, because on the 15-minute chart, we're up there, we're already sort of in the overbought territory. We're starting to curve back round. On the 30-minute chart we are as well. So I'm not happy with a long position, short term at the moment, and so I'm not happy with the long position, and as we stand at the moment, I'll just have to sit and wait and see whether it can push higher, and then maybe have a turn around to get into a short later on today. Okay, so that covers the Dow Jones. I need to adjust this indicator because I want it set so it only goes off once. Unfortunately, at the moment, it seems to be going off constantly. So what I'll actually do is I'll just go to indicator list, and I will just delete that for a minute. Otherwise, that's going to keep going off while I talk to you. Okay, so we're back on the 5-minute chart on that. So we've looked at the Dow. Let's go back to dollar yen. So we're talking about a breakthrough on the monthly charts, a breakthrough of this trend line. We've got the potential here on the CMO to see more upside. On the weekly charts, we are, again, we've still got potential for a bit more upside. We have the strong close here outside of this price envelope. It's kind of consolidated and moved sideways. So we could still see this push higher. It's dollar strength here. On the daily charts, it looks like there's effectively a divergence type pattern here. We've made these new highs, so we've got a lot of upwards momentum. What is interesting here is we've got these lows here which tie in with these moving averages, which are all going to come together in this area. So that would suggest potentially we could see some downside, and it actually come back down to here before it then pushes back up, and we'd get some negativity on this awesome oscillator. And potentially we could get this CMO to come back down here to the minus 100 before it pushes back up. So again, the potential there is for it to roll over a bit further. But it's not giving off any trades, as I say, at the moment. This is purely short-term trades what we're looking for, but we'll bear this analysis in mind depending on where the market is, for when we get these setups essentially on this 5 minutes chart. So if I go to the 4 hour charts on it, so we've done this first leg. Now when we go red to green, but you can see it here, what often happens is you think, oh, red to green, you know, the CMO is still halfway, so we're going to see a bit more, and we can see this oscillating between and these moves sort of a continuation of this. So we could get that here, a push back up, could hit the 21 period moving average, and then, you know, a roll back over. Potentially might tie in with what we've seen on the Dow Jones. We've also got this trend line here on the 4 hour, sorry, this moving average on the 4 hour chart, 200 period moving average. So it'd be nice to see it coming down. A hit of those, a hit of the blue 21 period, a touch of the 50 period, and then a second leg down of this 4 hour on this 4 hour chart. Get this CMO to come down here to the -100 before it then turns back up on this. And a touch. So let's just have a look on the hourly chart, what we've got. Okay, similar thing to what we saw then on the Dow Jones. We're getting to we've had a good pushback up here. So we could see a bit more upside here. I would like to see this go positive now. So looking at the CMO and the move, it's done that double leg thing that I was just talking about. And often with these, it's nice for them to go positive. It doesn't have to be, it could just be a few bars in the positive before it rolls back over and comes back down. And that would tie in with this CMO indicator going back to the +100 as well. And it will tie in with a hit of some of these moving averages here. So if we can see this push back up in the next few hours and then start to roll back over, if that again tied in with a 5 minute chart, what we're seeing on here with regards to a potential short setup. So, you know, if this tied in with a high like here and we were up here somewhere in a few hours time, then potentially we'd get short. You'll notice here I've got an indicator which automatically puts on these chart patterns as well, which is good. So that one's a butterfly, you can see with the triangles and the shape of them, and that's an automatic indicator. I've also got these zones which you'll see which show the different trading sessions. So you've got the Asian session, the European session, and the US session, and you can see with the overlap, and obviously you're seeing the overlap that we get the higher volumes and stuff like that. So which you'll see down here with this indicator. So that's interesting when we go to these 5 minute charts, because especially if you've had a move round and it's looking like we've got high volumes coming in, that's going to just take out some stops. So, you know, use this as an example. We've had this down move here, we've had this consolidation between sessions, and then we've had this high volume come in, and what's it done within 3 5 minute bars, or 2 really, 2 5 minute bars, it's taken out all of these highs. So this would have been racked with orders above here, so anyone shorting it from here would have, not anyone, but a lot of people would have put stops all above here in this zone. The high volumes come in, it's taken out the stops, and then it's then made the fresh low. Okay, so that's why volume's useful to sometimes see, because is it taking stops out, is it taking orders out? We need to think a bit cleverly and think where people are putting their orders and what the market wants to do. So that's dollar yen, so we'll leave that for now, and we will have a quick look at gold. So monthly charts on gold, we have we've started to push back up on gold. Now the only thing that's kind of concerning here for me is that on the monthly chart, and you know, this isn't a given science, these CMOs can obviously just move about, go sideways, up and down and stuff, but the way I like to treat them and look at them is an oscillator. At some point from it being +100, it will go to -100. Okay, So in my mind, that's what I'm looking for. Now, could we see, we've seen obviously all this dollar strength. Now we have got the cross here. If you look just under here where my arrow is, we've got the cross of these two moving averages, which is the 50 period and the 21 period moving average. So they have crossed here. However, they can, you know, still push back down. So we could see this come back down here over the course of the next few months, and that take us, you know, to April, May time next year. Potentially, if it does that, it could take out these lows here, and anyone that's long-term long from here could take them out. I mean, I do think that it's a good price long-term to be buying gold, you know, especially if you can get hold of physical gold as well. But potentially, I mean, we have got this moving average here, but that's kind of going to curve over there. So we could get back down to this zone here. But then, you know, it's still upwards trend. The price envelope is up at the moment. This awesome oscillator is positive at the moment. It hasn't had much move. So I can also see the argument for it to continue to go higher here as well. So I'm kind of in conflict long term with gold at the moment. If we go out to the weeklies as well, you know, we've on this high here, we have failed to break this high. However, based on this trend here, we are still making new highs. So again, my CMO here, I haven't got to this -100, so that could, you know, for the next few weeks or several weeks, you know, it's going to take a good couple of months, I would have thought. Come round, it could time with some of these moving averages, which are scooping up here. So we could then get down to this level before it turns around. We'll have to wait and see how that one plays out, because I'm not seeing, I'm seeing a lot of conflict at the moment. Again, shorter term then, to looking at the daily charts, we've got moving average here. It's not been touched. So 200 period moving average. If we did get down to that, bearing in mind that this CMO still hasn't got to my +100, if we got down to the 200 period moving average, that also tied in with these lows here. So there's going to be loads of stop losses, to be fair, below here, because it's made this low here, it's turned round. A lot of people that are going long here will be placing stops below there. That also ties in with this moving average here. So that's an interesting trade. If price came down, hit the 200 period moving average and took out these lows here and all these stop orders here, if that happened, then potentially we could be looking to get a long in. And even that might be a short-term bounce to get back up to this moving average here before it rolls back over. So conflict on gold at the moment. Again, if we've got something happen on the 5-minute chart, then potentially we could look at another trade on that. So I hope that helps for now, and you can probably hear my dogs going mad in the background. Potentially there's someone at the door, so that ties in quite nicely. Just a bit of analysis there. We'll see what happens later with regards to whether we get a couple of trades off, but it's worth looking at the analysis and what we spoke about and seeing whether it gives us a bigger picture as to what's happening. I hope that helps for now.